Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Alrighty. Hi, Alex.
Hey, look, Alex is live and in person and on the call.
Yeah, he's not our imaginary friend this week.
Right. This time I'm not a disembodied voice that makes the two of you just go.
He's not the
And then
voice
you
of
hear
God.
like nothing as the audience.
The voices tell us that
That's
we
your voice?
actually were referring to. So here's my
It's this voice all this time.
So here's two things I want to tell you that I got to tell you before we get started. A, because it's not relevant to the podcast episode, and B, because I think they're hilarious. So, like a year ago, Mother Teresa came up in conversation, and I said,
Conversation with whom? You and Logan?
Sarah and her father. Logan was there, but Sarah and her father. And so it came up in conversation, and I said something about, oh, she was pretty terrible of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, Sarah was like, I've never heard that before. And her father was like, what are you fucking talking about? She was an amazing person. And I was like, I'm like, no, she wasn't. I'm like, if you ever listen to
the things you think were good about her,
yeah,
were the bad things.
Yeah. So I told them all the things we know and about her, and Sarah was like, well, sometimes people can make things sound bad. I'm like, no, it's pretty bad.
No, that was
told medicine from people, told them praying was more important until she got sick and she went on all the medicines.
But it was that the medicine was available too. It wasn't even a matter of like,
she told them not to go on the medicine. Praying.
This wasn't like we don't have it, so I need to try to boost the spirit. So I had that conversation, and Sarah kind of was doing the like optimistic, like, well, maybe that's just not true, or maybe that's not the whole story or whatever. And then her father goes, where did you hear this? And I was like, well, when they beatify somebody, you have to have the devil's advocate. That's where the phrase comes from. Christopher Hitchens was. And he goes, oh, Christopher Hitchens is an asshole. I don't believe it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not how logic works. But so anyway, that's the setup. We're driving to get our taxes done 3 or 4 hours ago. And we get behind a car that has a Mother Teresa bumper sticker on it. And I'm sitting there and I'm not paying attention. And Sarah goes, oh, it's your arch nemesis. And I'm like, my arch nemesis? And she points. And I'm like, Mother Teresa? And she goes, yeah, I remember you hate her. I'm like, she was a terrible person. She goes, I don't remember why you said again. So I told her. And she goes, yeah, that's pretty fucking bad.
Without my dad here, I suddenly listen in a different way.
Yeah, but you know how sometimes things take...
Without a devil's advocate there.
Yeah.
So that was the first story. Second story is...
And I agree with him about Hitch, for what it's worth. Like, if he hadn't died, he probably would have been a Trumper.
Oh, and he definitely would have gone... He would have been anti-trans. He would have been...
Yeah, he would have
made a lot of... He made a lot of Richard Dawkins stuff seem like...
Right.
But you know...
He was good at what he did when we had the same... But even when he did, like, he was...
Yeah. He had the JFK benefit of, like, you died before you could fuck shit up. Like, we don't know that JFK would have, but he's a Kennedy, so...
We only did what he was famous for and didn't get a chance to opine on other topics.
Yeah.
And that's where you, like, get outside of your wheelhouse and we find things out. Are we ready to start?
We are ready to start 12 minutes late.
Let's talk about this fun stuff. Let's talk about some shit.
So here's the first thing is I want to just say, welcome back, everybody. If this is where you're starting off, you actually missed a really cool couple of stories that is only for the $10 patrons, which is at patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. I really expect you to pick that up, Matthew.
Wait, patreon.com/talking about the big stuff?
Yeah, for $10 at patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, you can hear that story that we just told.
Alex, did you know about patreon.com/talking about the big stuff?
I didn't, and I might forget it if I don't write it down, or maybe...
Yeah, it's patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. What is Alex doing on the video? What the hell? Why is Alex here? We're both here.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know before we dove into the topic and everything else that there's a cool story. A lot of the last 6 weeks or so, I've been putting in stories at the like that we've talked about at the beginning that aren't exactly related to the topic that I just think are funny or fun and also are not necessarily something I want everyone to hear unless they're willing to pay $10 for it. Or you can buy individual episodes.
HR is not willing to pay $10. That's really the main thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what.
Well, I'm Chocolate Diamond Media HR is me also. So
future HR for any corporate role you may want to have.
What happens if I get called to the office? I have to go talk to you.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously, in addition to Matthew and I, we have our producer Alex on tonight as a guest. Because Matthew pointed out that this is a better topic for 3, and also Alex is always a good time. So tonight's topic,
a good time on the podcast too.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about death. Kind of
starting off with a good one. Jeez,
so
you invite me on, and it's death. Okay, trying to tell me something?
Yeah. You, Alex, your wife told us that you got the results back.
Oh.
And this is how she wanted to tell you. Because remember how Matthew, when he comes up with a topic, always has an ulterior motive?
Yeah.
Tonight's ulterior motive, which is not happening tonight because I mowed the lawn and my back is throbbing. So no furniture moving. And unfortunately, tonight's ulterior motive was Matthew wanting to tell you that the results are in.
Yeah. Your insurance policy was approved, and Holly wants us to, so she can get it.
Okay.
You're worth more dead than alive.
Yeah, I think I'll take one for the team and just see myself out. I am on the second floor, so it
no, it's okay. It was in your drink. You're fine.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I finished all that, so we'll be good. How long does it take?
I think we got 55 minutes from right now.
Perfect. I'll finish the episode. Go out with a bang.
You'll just be like, and you need to go to patreon.com/
I'll just...
that's the slash, the way he leaned at the end there.
And then I'll finish it off. It was by talking about the big stuff. So we're going to talk about death, but tonight's topic specifically is, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, but okay. I think it's somewhat what we want to happen once we die, as far as our families.
It's post-death stuff.
It's post-death, but also I mentioned, and maybe we're not going to talk about this. It's up to you. All the death planning, essentially.
No, I think that's fine because you're planning for the post, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was thinking was, we had Mikey on a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about his brushes with mortality and near-death kind of experiences. Not in the woo near-death, just times when he did not know if he'd be leaving the hospital, and he did. And it made me think about, what about the other side of the coin? And of course, regular listeners know that I've suffered a couple of deaths in the family in the last couple of months. Really, my father died in August. My mother-in-law died 58 days later, so less than 2 months. She made it under the wire. Or 48 days later. And so we've just gone through a lot of death stuff and post-death stuff. Yep. And so it had us talking and thinking. So I thought it might be the next side of the conversation, like what are our plans? And that's why I thought it'd be cool if Alex joined in, because having 3 people say, here's what I want done with my body, here's what kind of service I want, is just more to talk about than just 2 of us swapping stories. Ironically, I don't have an ulterior motive, but when I mentioned to my wife that's what we're talking about tonight, she's like, oh, because we record on Mondays, today's the 14th. She goes, oh, tomorrow's tax day, so death and taxes, that's funny. I'm like, it's not my ulterior motive,
right,
but that works. Yeah. She had all German on me. She's like, death und taxes.
Nice. So I want to start real quick with something that only applies to me. Right now, it did apply to you, Matthew, and it will never apply to you, Alex, as far as I know. And this is going to be for $3 patrons because it's morbid.
I want my body donated to a necrophiliac. I mean, someone should get some pleasure out of my death.
Have I told you that before? That's not what I was going to say, but I want it to be
someone's got to enjoy life.
The $3 patron is what I was thinking.
No. At my funeral, I do want them to say that Mike has donated his body to NASA. The Necrophiliac Association of Southern America, and then have everybody hopefully laugh.
Hopefully.
A couple people roll their eyes, like my mom, if she's there, she'll be like, "Oh."
Your auntie as well.
Yeah. So
people touch themselves.
They're like, I finally get my chance.
Mean, I'll be there. Jesus.
Anyway, so no. Now to the $3 patrons. So
That wasn't it.
that was not it. I don't care. That can go out. That's going to go out public unless I feel like it. Unless I feel like cutting it when I edit, but I don't think I will. We're 24 minutes in. We're not really on like for listeners. We're like 5 minutes in, but anyway, no. So Matthew, I'm sure you had a plan when your kids were kids. And this is why it doesn't apply to
parenting type things. Who's going to take the kids?
Yeah. So Sarah and I, we have not figured that out, and for a long time,
You're
we
6
would
years late.
6 years. He's going to be 9 next week.
Oh, never mind. 10 years late. He's not still 5. He was 5 before the pandemic. What happened?
You must have thought he was fucking brilliant 2 weeks ago when you saw him, or a month ago when you saw him. If you thought he was 5,
I don't remember kids' ages anymore.
I don't either.
It's all a blur.
So anyway,
if they're under 5, I think people, if you're survivors, can return them.
Anyway, back to we did have a couple that we
big
really
Woody Allen fan.
We had a couple that we really liked, although we never ended up talking about it. We were like, we won't talk about it until we make a decision with anybody because we didn't want to like get anybody's hopes up and then insult them. We had a couple that we liked and we still like them, but they live in Denmark now. Like they moved to Denmark when Logan was 3.
Oh, poor thing. That's a fantastic.
For more reason, I put you at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Healthcare.
Now that Trump's been reelected, maybe we put that back on the table.
Right.
So
third state.
So eventually, he was like, kind of every time we'd come up with him, he'd be like, "Have you guys figured it out? You really should figure it out." And then I said, "Honestly, I don't think we need to figure it out." And here's right now, and here's my logic, and I stand by this, although it's starting to become less true because he's hitting a new age. We didn't need to figure it out at that point in time because Sarah and I were never together unless Logan was also with us. So the chances of us both dying meant he was almost certainly also going to die.
I mean, but he's in a car seat protected, and you guys go through the windshield.
Okay. Well,
I mean, plane. I think you're thinking like, the plane went down. We took my parents took separate flights just in case something went wrong, but they both crashed. Crybaby, they both crashed. You know.
Yeah. So anyway, that was our thought then. But now Sarah and I spend more time alone.
Today, did you guys have that?
Crybaby, the John Waters movie.
Yeah.
That's Johnny Depp.
With Johnny Depp, that's one of my favorite speeches. Shows how why she lives with her aunt or whatever. Both her parents.
Crybaby is a fantastic film.
But they both
I haven't seen it, but I'm adding it to my list.
Oh,
it is so campy. It's good. It's so campy. It's good.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. I've been making a list of movies I need to see because I listened to not AMC, Cinefix Top 100 Films of All Time list podcast, which is great. I recommend it for any cinephiles out there. Even if you don't consider yourself one, there's a lot of like pop culture stuff that you'll know anyway. Like I'm listening to Empire Strikes Back today.
I don't want to take us too far off topic, but do you listen to This Film Is Lit podcast?
I have.
I haven't listened in a while, and I just went into it today and downloaded a couple episodes of particular movies I like to hear them talk about.
I liked it a lot, except that I hadn't read enough of the books, and then I knew that they were like explaining the difference, but I'm like, there's a lot. It's similar to god awful movies where it's like there's just so much back channeling I have to do for this.
I don't mind not having read the books, because usually Russ hasn't read the books usually, so
yeah.
So it's not, you're not meant to have it. I don't know, Alex, if you've ever heard the podcast. It's a husband and wife who, she has an English degree, he has a film degree. So she reads the book of a movie, he watches the movie, usually stuff like Gen X stuff that they're younger and like they didn't grow up with. But it could be newer stuff too, like they did Dune 2 and Dune 2. Okay. But so she'll read the book, he'll read the movie, unless it's sometimes science fiction and he's already read the book in college and they reverse it. And then they go through like she'll read the descriptions of characters in the book, and he has to guess which character she's describing, so you can see how different it is to listen to the movie.
Sorry, guys, I'm sweating my balls off here. I had to turn the fan on.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll be minimal sound-wise.
Yeah, and it's really cold here, listeners, the last week or so. So we all have the heat on, so it's hot and stuffy in our houses.
Yeah.
Well,
and then it wasn't a few days ago when it was raining.
Yeah. It's 85 outside right now, or it was early, like an hour or two ago, but.
Yep, 84 here. Yeah.
Oh, we got to turn the air conditioner back on. So you didn't pick godparents. We kind of did with the So my younger brother doesn't have kids; he has dogs, and we said with the money we would leave them, he could afford to raise our kids.
Nice. So
again, they're past the age we have to worry about it.
Yeah.
That we do. I mean, Joseph, he's on the spectrum, so he's not 100% self-sufficient. So there is the concern would be that the expectation would be that his brother would help him, or he and his sister would get an apartment together and have to be together because they would need, he needs a little assistance.
I do want to say something that is going to sound like I am having delusions of grandeur and I'm a crazy person. I have thought...
Marking for an edit. Go ahead.
I have thought for a long time that in the case that we get Chocolate Diamond successful and up and going, when one of the three of us owners dies or wants to retire or wants to step away, that the other two would kind of try to buy them out. Because I don't love the idea of I don't want Sarah and Logan, if I died and we're doing pretty well, to they may have no interest in this, but also they're coming into a dynamic they're not supposed to be in, necessarily.
True.
And it's it also could be a huge benefit to them if if we are making money to for you, Matthew, you and Adam to be all right, we're gonna we the company's worth $1 million.
We dissolve the company, sell the company, or buy
exactly
within 1 year of
right
us killing you.
Right. And so I had the same thought for you and Adam. Adam's got kids that are kids still, but also it could help it could help Madhavi or it could help your kids. So, but anyway, that was that. I know I sound crazy because we are not financially solvent yet.
Yeah, right now take it off their hands so they don't have the debt that it incurs.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with this. I'll handle it.
Yeah. But by the time that all this happens, Alex, we will also. I plan on having hired you with some actual money behind it.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We don't ask for anal without paying for it.
I do.
Well, yeah, no. He does. I had to bring it up with HR, which was really awkward.
Which is him, so that makes it difficult. You got a problem? Turn around.
I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and
is it just a proctologist?
No, it's just a blood draw, but it's still one of those 40-year-old things. And every time I go in for one now, because they're all the 40-year-old checkup shit, I'm like, one of these days I'm just gonna get a finger in the butt. I've had a finger in the butt, but in the pleasurable way.
Man, at my age, it's annual. My yearly checkup every time. He's like, turn on your side.
Not my anus.
Can you not put your hands on my shoulder this time?
I love that joke.
Shoulders, 2 hands. That's what I'm concerned about.
Don't worry, Mike. It's just a prostate exam. My name's not Mike. No, mine is. I'm trying to calm myself so I don't get an erection. I fucked that joke up so bad.
A friend of mine is
it landed pretty good. It did.
My friend Andy is a stand-up that talks about his ophthalmologist. He goes, it's an eye doctor, for those of you who don't know. And it's really weird because he asked me the other day, do you have any floaters? I'm like, what? I don't know. You should just flush and walk away. I don't look. Because you're weird. And why am I naked?
That's a good joke.
Yeah. Andy's he's a good stand-up. One day he'll break through and be super famous.
Nice.
He's good.
All right, so back to death.
And taxes.
Yeah.
Great restaurant in Raleigh, if any of you are locals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have not, Sarah and I have not done a whole lot of, Sarah doesn't like to think about it at all. I don't know if I've told you this, but I wrote a story that is in my old book, and it's going to be I'm going to republish a bunch of the short stories from my old book that I took off the market. And the story is basically Sarah and I, what I wanted our lives to be when I wrote it about 10 years ago, what I wanted our lives to be the whole way through. So it's about...
Life is so good, dual income and no kids. Our corporate lives are so exciting.
No, great. They have kids in the story, but they travel, but it's about the guy dying in his 90s. And I wrote it, and I thought it was this very sweet, almost like saccharine sweet kind of short story. And Sarah reads it, and she is fucking losing it. She's snotty and she's crying and and I'm like, why are you upset? And she goes, I don't want to think about you dying. I'm like, did you read the story? The character's like almost 100 years old.
Let
And
me go.
And she goes,
But still.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's not me,
So-
and it's
So that's the downside of marriage. Like, here are the two ways you could be lucky and die in two plane crashes of the same day. But generally, the two ways marriage ends is bitter divorce, or one of you having to bury the other one. Like those, yay! What a great plan this is. Think this through.
Yeah, my grandfather is. I come from a very anti-divorce family, and my grandfather is probably number one in that. And he's not
number one victim or number one
believer. Like like before Sarah and I got married, he like sat Sarah down and he goes, "Just so you know, we don't believe in divorce in this family," which is his like an inside joke about the fact that one of his grandparents from Italy didn't know the word divorce and she kept saying it wrong, so he always says revorce. So like he's very anti-divorce, and he's not. I don't think he's particularly bad about it, but he talks about it a lot, like how it's a shame, blah, blah, blah. So we're at his place in Naples 2 weeks ago. Naples, Florida, not Naples, Italy. You guys know that, but maybe the audience doesn't, especially the non-$10 patrons. So we're in...
because
so
the $10 patrons know geography.
Yeah.
Ours do.
Yeah.
Because they get the 4K video and they can read the map behind Mike.
Yeah. Except that's California, right?
You're correct.
Sorry, it's backwards for me. And so it looked a little weird. So anyway, so we're at his house and he goes, like half of, like 50% of marriages end in divorce now. I looked at him, I was like, it's better than the other half that ended in death. And he laughed and he goes, I never thought about it that way before, Michael.
Those are your choices.
Like, so, but he thought it was amusing.
Unless you're Mormon, then it's forever.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Thank God we're not Mormon. Thank God I'm an atheist. So Sarah and I haven't done any of the planning. I have, before I met Sarah, I had we both know that we want to be cremated. I believe that funerals are for the living. So I'm
having one tomorrow for her.
No, you know what I mean. Like they're for the mourners. And so
tomorrow.
Yeah. So to me, it's always been like, I mean, I assume that I will get one, but like it is for the mourners.
Yeah, that's exact conversation we had the other days. We've always been like, I don't care what you do, I don't care. And I realized in our depression and our grief and all the crap you have to do, the advantage of a religious ceremony or any set ceremony that your culture has, but in our culture it tends to be the one of your religion, is that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to say, "Oh, I just lost my spouse. What am I going to do to bring people together to honor them?" Like you know, like Jewish, you know what I'm going to do. It's going to be in 2 days. It's going to be a funeral. It's going to be followed by sitting shiva. Like it's all done for me. It's laid out. Yeah. There's someone at the funeral home who knows how the process goes, who will help me run it. It's done. Where if you're like, well, we're going to do, I want a roast and I need an MC. And it's like, then you're putting that on your spouse to have to do that, which may not be what they want, or what they need for grieving. And even just saying, whatever, it's for the living, I agree. And then saying, so whatever my wife needs to grieve, whatever works for her is fine. But even that is so, but all the pressure's on her to figure that out after I drive my car into the lake pretending it's an accident.
Yeah.
I mean, or something.
Yeah. So when my mother-in-law died 4 years ago, it was 2021. So it was like in COVID. So things were weird, right? And she died, and Sarah and her father and her sister really hadn't lost anybody. Oh. Her sister had like a couple of friends that were like loose friends that had died, but like nobody in their family.
The loose friends dies. Like the prudes I don't care about, but the loose friends, they're vital.
You know what I mean? So they didn't do anything. Like we went up to Massachusetts. We basically, for all intents and purposes, we sat shiva because we just hung out at the house and people would bring us food and shit and come talk for a little bit. But like
That's about it.
It was that, but like there was no ceremony. They had to go. Sarah and her sister and her father had to go to the like funeral home to kind of like discuss what to do with the body, essentially. But like there was no funeral, no wake, no none of that stuff, and it was really weird for my family. Like my great aunts and everybody else were kind of like, well, when are they doing something? What is going on? We want to be there for Sarah.
Oh.
We love Sarah. We don't want,
Right.
and I'm like, I get that, but like they don't want to do anything. Like I don't know about you guys. Sarah and her father didn't see her mother's body. So Ashley, my sister-in-law, found her mother's. Well, my nephew found her mother's body, but they were there when the ambulance came to take the body away and stuff. By the time we got there, it was almost 24 hours later because we had to drive to Charlotte to get him, and then we had to drive up to Massachusetts, and so it had been a little while. But when they went to the funeral home, they had the opportunity, and they didn't go see the body, which was foreign to me. And like when they came home after that, because I stayed home with the kids to watch the kids. When they came home, they're like, "Yeah, Sarah and her father and her sister didn't see the body again." They were like, "Yeah, we just didn't want to see her like that." And I was like, to me, I always think of it, and this is because my dad used to say it. When you see the body, you know for sure it's closure in some way. Like like
Because maybe they're fooling.
well,
The breath.
This is a story about my dad's dad. My dad's dad was a pathological liar, and he died in the Philippines. And my dad, to this very day, will say it wouldn't surprise me if he just shows up on my door asking for money. So, like, my dad actually does have a reason to think that way.
Hey, son, let me meet my friends, Elvis and Jim Morrison.
Well, no, it's not. It would not be. I mean, his father left when he was 4. And like disappeared in and out and ran cons to. I mean, as far as I can understand, he was like a con artist. So it's not unbelievable for him to think that.
Did he poke the body a little bit and make sure they don't move?
So when my grandfather died, my dad called. I don't call him my grandfather typically, but we call him by his first name in my family. But you guys don't know.
But Rasputin is weird to say when you're telling the story.
Yeah. So anyway, so when he died, I would have been 8 or 9 years old. I don't remember this, but my mom sat in the kitchen. My dad called Manila or wherever in the Philippines he died. They called the hospital. It was either a U.S. VA hospital there because there's a lot of GIs in the Philippines, or it was some U.S. VA friendly hospital or something. So my dad called and he asked for them to mail or fax pictures of the body. And my mother was screaming at him while he was on the phone. Oh. You heartless bastard. And he was like, I need proof of death. And he kept telling the doctors, I need proof of death.
Wait, tell him to lay still for a minute.
So like my dad has like some reason to believe, like, like there's a reason there. It's not just like a weirdo. Like he's not just a weirdo. He is a weirdo. Yeah. I hope this isn't the episode he decides to pick to listen to. He'll be like, he's not wrong.
So you want to be burned to a crisp. Alex, what's your body disposal of choice?
Nah, ash me up, because everything I have, I don't feel should take up space for those that have a religious purpose to leave the body intact. So as far as I'm concerned, make the smallest negative impact on the earth after I'm gone. And also you get to keep all my cool ass organs.
I was just going to update mine because even though I say I want to be cremated, I do want the thing that is the least, like, basically has the smallest carbon footprint on. Yeah. And I would love to be that bio mulched, but like that's only legal in one state last time I heard. Washington. So Sarah is aware that basically like cremation is worst case scenario if there's something that's better, but it's not burial. It could be. I know, Matthew, you want to do the thing where they leave it to decompose to test for science. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Forensic Body Farm, where they track your after organ donation, of course.
Yeah, and this is okay. I'm not joking when I say this. I know this is going to sound fucking bizarre, and this is not going for patrons. This is for everybody.
Motherfuckers.
Because I'm an atheist. And because I don't believe there will be anything left of me when I'm dead, and I don't think I'm not going to be in heaven looking down at my body, I actually don't care if somebody wanted to use my body for creepy shit As long as as long as Sarah and Logan don't fucking know about it, or nobody.
Well, what if it's them?
Well, if Sarah wants to, then that's kind of sweet.
Now that rigor mortis is set in, one last time.
This is almost as good as when he was high for 6 straight days.
I was about to say, this is almost as good as when he was high. Because trust me, when Mike's going out, he's going out bricked up like it's a regular afternoon.
Ma'am, you realize the body will still be expelling gases. Yeah, I'm used to that.
Yeah. Normal. If he gets too excited, that happens anyway.
He's going to evacuate his bowels. Stop it. I'm not there yet. You're going to make me come too soon. It's like my friend Lawrence who would stick his tongue out when he sneezed. It's grosser, but it's funny.
Yeah. Oh. It's gross.
I'm going to try to do that next time.
So, anyway. Yeah. So that's as far as like the body stuff, but was there like, do you have other less formal things you want to talk about, Matt?
No, so I wanted to talk about money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Money. So here's my advice to you, gentlemen. You should have, if you plan on not getting divorced, if your plan is to die or be deaded, be widowed or widow, make sure there's no accounts anywhere that don't have both your names on it.
Yeah.
Because the nightmare of the few things my dad had that were only in his name, excuse me, things my mother-in-law had that were only in her name, have it in your name. You don't trust your, Alex, you're screwed. You have to trust Ollie. But
that's true.
Mike, you don't trust Sarah. You have stuff in your name and Logan's name, even at this age. Put his name on things so he can get into those accounts.
We have everything. We have
take his name off every account that they had joined and put my name on joint for every account so that I'm on my mother's stuff for the future.
Sarah and I have a couple of like little credit cards that are not shared. Like I'll have a credit card here and she'll have a credit card there, but we have no banks and no stocks and none of that. All the stocks that are in my name that I got before I met her, I have like added her as like as an access. So like she should have access to everything.
Because even if you have your will saying they inherit everything, if their name's on it, especially for accounts, if their name's on it, it's not a matter of inheriting it, it's just theirs.
Yeah.
And it's just much easier. And same like my parents' Costco account was in my dad's name. So my mom had to get a Costco account, which is fine, except, my dad gets 2% back on his credit card, which is turned off. And now she's not getting that, and he died 3/4 of the way through the year. So now if they shop at Costco, that was hundreds of dollars that just disappeared.
Yeah. It is good to know.
With my dad's car, because he didn't have the first car they ever owned that my mother's name wasn't on. Didn't co-own it. It wasn't on the deed. So she had to inherit it, go through the paperwork to prove it's hers, to register it in her name, to give it to me so that I could have it, which makes it two people inheriting it, which makes it hard to get the warranty, and that's more paperwork and more notarizing instead of if her name had been on it from the beginning, both the deed and the registration, then it would have just been giving it to me because she doesn't drive.
Yeah. Right. It is also good. Sarah and I actually thought about this because we were at H&R Block a couple hours ago, and I saw Logan's name pop up because he's a dependent, and I was like, I actually don't know where Logan's social security card and stuff is, and I don't know the number. And I was like, I need to know that. And I like literally had that same thought. But there's a bunch of stuff like we watched Sarah's dad go through it where like he knew a bunch of the stuff, but there was also things they'd have to call and like, she'd have like nothing like bank account stuff, but there's lots of little stuff that you don't think about. You mentioned the Costco account. But like
every streaming service is on one person's name or the other, and you have to switch them over because the credit card that you're paying with it's going to be turned off.
Yeah, I don't want to lose my algorithm because she died. No, but that
hard
is
to set it up again.
But also, if you're
all of that
Google Fiber is under one person's name, you don't think about that, but all of a sudden your internet turns off, your power turns off because someone's dead.
Yeah. Well, luckily everything just comes out of auto pay out of our joint account.
Yeah. Like that's nothing. Make sure it has to be a joint account. Then you can protect that account.
Yeah. But like we would have to cut some. Like obviously, if I'm unemployed, Sarah has has life insurance, but like I would have to cut a lot of expenses.
Yeah.
Unless Chocolate Diamond takes off, which reminds me, if you're not a patron and you wanted to hear that story from the beginning or help out because I'm unemployed and stuff, you can go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
Wait, was that
We don't
Patreon.com?
have to do the repeat every time. We just
big stuff.
we'll just sprinkle it through the episode. Yeah.
Sorry.
I actually was looking at on Instagram, like, could I change our Instagram account or like username to TATBS, because that's so much easier to put on like those little stickers that people do on their cars to get you to follow them or whatever. And then I was like, TATBS is taken, and I don't want to add pod, because then at this point people are like, what's TATBS pod? Like, they won't even remember. Talking about the big stuff's easy to remember even though it's longer. And then,
so listening to the question and answer episode of Philosophers in Space, and my Patreon name is Matthew from Talking About the Big Stuff podcast. So every month he does a Q&A, he's like, he reads the list of people he's thanking, and Matthew talking about the big stuff.
Nice.
Speaking of, you guys know, you listeners, that you hear Alex at the end of some of the podcasts talk about the fact that we're credentialed at the Creator Accountability Network, and that you can complain if we say something horrible or if we do something horrible to you. Well, there's going to be a
fundraiser
podcast.
Yeah. The day this episode comes out.
On the Friday this comes out, the 25th. Yep. If you're not a patron, if you're a patron, the week it comes out.
Yeah.
And one or both of us may be on it. We have volunteered, all three of us have volunteered our services to be on the pod, and we haven't gotten a schedule. So
yes, they posted it today on Instagram.
Oh, did they?
So we're on at 7 with the Family Skeptical. I may have gotten that wrong, but if I did, I'll correct it in the show notes. Cool. The Family Skeptical, which is another podcast. I listened to a couple episodes. It's good. It's parents who are skeptics, atheists, and are reading. I actually kind of want to try to connect with them ahead of time, so we have we're not meeting them on the air. But yeah, it's so we're at 7:00. I think it starts at 6. I could be wrong about that. We will have the information in the show notes. But it's that Friday tonight if you're listening as a non-patron, or Friday if you're listening as a patron, we will be on that live stream. It's about 3 hours long, I think it was, and I think we have like a half-hour slot, but there's going to be a lot of really cool podcasts.
I think theoretically it's hosted by Aaron Rabinowitz from Embrace the Void and Philosophers in Space, as I just mentioned. They mentioned my thing, and Cecil Cicerello from Cognitive Dissonance and Citation Needed-Pod.
Pretty sure his name is Cecil something Italian.
Oh no! He finally had it changed. He was afraid he would get deported if he had Italian in his name, so he changed it.
Yeah. So...
Is that why he's been going by Cicerello again?
No, he went by Cicerello. Like on his regular pod, he just went by Tom and Cecil.
Yeah. But the Cicerello was years and years ago. I remember hearing it, and then it just changed to something Italian.
Eli calls him, couldn't pronounce it, so Eli would say Cecil something Italian. So that just became the joke on all the podcasts. But when he was doing his legal podcast, which he's no longer doing, he used his full name. And now that he's doing the No Rogan, KNOW Rogan podcast, he uses his full name because he's not under the thumb of Eli's joke. So it's only when he's on the Scathing Atheist Puzzle and Thunderstorm umbrella podcast as a guest that he goes by Cecil something Italian.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he actually uses his name.
Yeah. So
on with them and with the Family Skeptical. I just looked at the post. The Family Skeptical.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Friday at 6 p.m.
Yes,
Friday,
the pod
April
is
25th,
6 to 10. We should be on the 7:00 hour, and they're going to be asking for donations. And if you donate while we're on it and say it's because of those guys, then we get some cred. I think the people who make the least get tortured. And I've been tortured by Aaron before. It ain't fun. People. Yeah. I was a guest on his podcast, Embrace the Void, a year or two ago, and he tortured me.
It depends on the kind of torture. I'm starting to find that
it's philosophical torture. It's not the fun stuff.
It's not CBT.
He's a philosopher. No. It's the philosophical torture.
There will be no sounding of the alarm.
Oh, sounding I'm not into, but a little bit of ball tapping when I'm going on. It's okay.
Yeah. And then if you fart, you'll just apologize and just shoot ropes everywhere.
Shoot ropes. Anyway, so back to death.
Back to death, back to reality.
No more shooting bros.
I will say, I think I've told you both this before.
Apologizing for scatologic. Sorry.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'm almost positive I've told you before. When I was in high school, I had plans about how I wanted my funeral to go, and I wanted.
I've heard. Yeah,
you've heard it. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I
wanted.
like it.
I'm thinking Catholic. And when I think Catholic, at the wake there is a pew, kneeler, right next to the coffin, and typically open casket unless there's some reason why that has to be closed casket.
Like Sonny Corleone.
Yeah.
Look what I did to my son.
Look how they massacred my boy. So anyway, I wanted the kneeler to have like a tripwire so that when you knelt on it, my body was rigged to be like, and then somebody would be able to turn the tripwire off when at this point I didn't know Sarah and Logan didn't exist yet. But when my wife and children came, they would turn it off so they could kneel, but everybody else that came in the door got the full.
So I'm gonna tell you a quick story that's not related to death, but I'm gonna bring it back around. I did a play, a Philadelphia story, like the Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn.
Tom Hanks has AIDS
movie. No, a Philadelphia story, not Philadelphia. And I played the Cary Grant role, CK Dexter Haven. Mikey played Uncle Willie. The conceit of the show is I'm the ex-husband coming to my ex-wife's wedding. And haven't been in town in a long time, but I'm like, everyone loves me to death, and it's a big deal. Oh, he's back. Maybe he should get married instead, right? Jimmy Stewart was in the original too. And
he won his Oscar for that.
Yeah. And so there's a point in the play where, as a wedding gift or as a pre-wedding gift, CK gives Sandy a framed picture, and she unwraps it, and it's a picture of his boat, his yacht that they had honeymooned on and sailed around the world with for their honeymoon. And she gets a little upset that, but it's not appropriate to give me a picture of our honeymoon yacht, and he's like, oh, but remember the good times. So I had a framed picture that I got from a big meeting I went to at work that had just lots, a fountain and lots of blue on it, and it looked from a distance like it could be a sailboat in the water. So it was a good prop to use. So that's what we were using. For the last show, I photoshopped the person in the Jimmy Stewart role's head onto a Playgirl centerfold body and put it into the same kind of frame and wrapped it up. And in my head, I'm like, two people see this. The one who plays Sandy, who's an improviser in my group, and she'll be able to handle it. But there's also this guy who plays the fiancé, and it's Tom, and he cannot handle anything going wrong. He'd be gone. So I showed it to him beforehand, backstage, and I warned him so that he wouldn't falter. Of course, he's giggling his ass off during the scene where she's going to look at it and stuff, where he's going to see it. But so she looks at it, she unwraps it, and she looks at it, does a triple take, and then she's like, and it's great because she has this offended look, which she's supposed to have anyway. And then she recovers. We do our scene. Everything's perfect. Normally, she puts it face up so the audience can see it. She puts it face down. It's when he comes in and he's supposed to pick it up and look at it and not get that she should be even offended. And he looks at it and he giggles and he's trying not to laugh out loud, puts it face down. I forgot there's other people who potentially see it because no one else talks about it. But the butler comes in and he's supposed to pick it up and say, "Ma'am, should I put this with the other presents?" And it's face down instead of face up. So he's like, "That's weird." Picks it up, looks at it. He keeps looking at it. He can't stop staring. I did a good Photoshop job. It looked like my friend naked. And then, like I said, the Sandy is an improviser. She goes, "Do you think you should put that with the other presents?" And he's like, yeah, and walks over and puts it face down on the present table. A little later in the scene, the woman playing her mother, who is the prudest prude of prudes that ever been in prudedom, she's supposed to be dusting and keeping herself busy in the background, and she sees the pictures face down, so she thinks it fell over. So she picks it up and she looks at it and she goes, "Oh," and puts it back down. And she goes, "No, it couldn't be," and picks it up again, and she's staring at it to see if it's really the actor or not.
Oh my gosh!
I was like, oops, I did not mean to prank half the cast. I only meant to prank one person.
And you
So saying
succeeded
that,
beyond your wildest dreams.
to bring it back around to your tripwire and your pop-up coffin, like you're like, don't let my spouse and my child see this. But then you forget
Everybody.
that you're surviving, one parent, 20 years from now sees it, or or
Fuck 'em.
other or the other person, your friend from work who has a heart condition. Like you forget the other person who shouldn't see it because you were just thinking about the one person who shouldn't see it.
Yeah. I do like. I've seen the meme a few times about. There's a couple different versions you can do where you hire a couple of guys who look like mafia guys to come by and be like, "Don't worry, boss, we're gonna take care of everything," and, like to your body, which I think would be awesome. Or you get like a really attractive like model or prostitute to come and just weep in all black in the corner of the room. I would have to warn Sarah about that one, but I actually don't think Sarah would find it funny. Like she would find it funny talking about it, but if it actually happened, I think she'd be pissed.
What will be really funny is if you have yourself buried, have your when you put a suit on you, whatever, have the suit have an envelope, with papers in your inside pocket. So when you have the mafia guy come, they open your lapel, take out the envelope off your corpse. Look at everybody, put it in, then just walk out.
Yep, just leave.
Yeah. I also think it would be cool if I could hire like a really old, really Italian guy, like really Italian looking guy, hire him for say $500, give him an extra $500, and have him tuck the $500 into my suit and just be like,
or even,
you were always my favorite. Or something, like just something like vague.
I know you didn't mean it.
And I know that I know that we're talking about death plans and like this sounds silly, but I for a very long time actually planned on these things happening. Like I've matured and grown up. I was 15 or 16 when the first time that I don't think I had my driver's license. My friend Pat, who was on the podcast, me and him were at the mall one time, and we were talking about it. And I was like, "You got to promise me this is going to happen. This is going to happen." We like had this long conversation, and about like this is what I want, this is what I need to happen at my funeral. And then my mom came and picked us up, and I found out my dad was in the hospital. We thought he was having a heart attack, so it was weird. That was 26 years ago, though.
I got some good laughs at my grandfather's funeral, at my eulogy, because I'm up there talking and I'm like, I have an audience and they're not laughing. I feel so bad. They need to laugh. Yeah. I can't, And so I told a story about how my grandfather used to always tell me jokes I can use in my comedy show. It's a good one. You could use that one. No, you can use it. You can make it in the show. You can use a joke. And I said, and they weren't good jokes. I said, for example, here's one. There's a rabbi and a priest and a minister, and they're on a train together, and they're going to like a religious conference, and the heads of their respective congregations are in the first class, and they're in the back, and they're bored, so they start to play cards, and they're gambling. And at some point, one of them looks up and sees between the cars that there are three, like the chief rabbi and the cardinal and the president of the Southern Baptists are all coming towards them. So the priest has big, wide wrists in his shirt, so he shoves the cards up into it, and he puts his hands in like this and holds on so his sleeves are together so the cards can't fall out. And then the minister sees that, and he scoops the money up and puts it into his sleeves and holds it like that. And the Jewish guy sees, and to make them not look out of place, he puts his hands the same way. And when they come in, that they say, the cardinal says to the priest, "We heard there were religious people playing cards. Were you playing cards?" And he goes, "No, not me. No, Father, not me, not me." And the head of the Southern Baptist Council says to the minister, "Are you playing cards?" And he goes, No, of course not. No. And then the chief rabbi says to the rabbi, "Were you playing cards?" And the rabbi goes, "With who?" And then I turned to my grandfather's coffin and said, "I told you it wasn't funny." And everybody cracked up.
Nice. So at my great grandfather died when I was almost 16. So I remember this actually. We were at his funeral, and my uncle, my mom's brother, gave the eulogy. And I don't remember almost any of the eulogy, but I remember he told one joke that my great grandfather used to tell, and he was crying when he told it, but everybody laughed while crying, that was the first time I had witnessed that thing. And I remember the joke, and it's a great grandfather joke. He was born in 1903. And it fits that timeline. So he goes, "Did you ever hear about the one-armed man who went fishing? He'd go and and he'd tuck it under and he would and then he'd go and when he'd come home, his wife would be like, 'How'd you do?' And he'd be like, 'Great, I caught one that big.'" I told you it's not funny. No. No, I loved it when I was 16.
That big.
So I got some laughs in my eulogy for my dad, but it wasn't set jokes. It was just a couple lighthearted stories that were nervous laughter kind of things. I could see my friends being highly inappropriate laugh. Like if I would want. If I have some, I mean, we kind of had a graveside service for my father. We didn't do anything religious. We didn't have a rabbi. We just kind of took turns doing eulogies. So I would think that Madhavi probably would want to have something similar if I pass first. Not at graveside because my body's shipped off, but people come over and just share stories. Like sitting Shiva is really just sitting stories. But I kind of feel like there needs to be a thing in the invitation saying, check with Madhavi if the story is okay to share with her around. Just because I can imagine the stories some people might tell, and maybe she is in the mood to hear them, maybe she's not.
In that spirit, I literally, while you were talking, just thought of this. But if for some reason you outlive me, Matthew, at my funeral, you have my permission, my blessing, whatever we want to call it. No, to tell the story.
Oh no!
To tell the story of it's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have the permission to tell that story.
Your parents be there?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Ma, Pop, I got a story for you.
No. I'm not talking about one-on-one. I'm talking about
No, I know. I'm
you get up
assuming they're in the front row.
You get up and you say, Mike wanted me to say something, or
Mike wanted me to share this with you also. You understand his trauma as a young Catholic boy.
His deep shame.
Oh, no.
And I do want to tell you this. I think Sarah will laugh, and then she'll be like, "Did Mike tell you to say that?" And you can tell her, and she'll be fine. I do think if you say that, you probably can't stay at the party.
Yeah, it might be time to
just
go.
to give you a heads up. I think my family will not be happy with you.
I won't get the same enjoyment we do.
I want to make sure that all the listeners at all levels get to hear the story right now. So the way the story goes is Mike was 16 years old and he's alone. Oh, I'm sorry. Look at the time. It's time to wrap things up. I'll get to it next week, everybody. We'll get to this next week. We'll start the pod with it next week, but we need to start wrapping up.
Yeah. Oh, is it now our Matt Damon? Matt Damon's been bumped.
It's our Matt Damon moment.
Fucking Matt Damon. Do you have any last thoughts about death before we move on?
All thoughts about death are last thoughts is how it goes.
True.
The more time you spend with your folks and your family and your friends enjoying life now is going to make your celebration of death and what people think of you that much more impactful and that much more intense. So don't be boring.
This is why we brought you on, Alex, so you could be the deep one while we're talking about.
Yeah, because I was going to talk about how you should give up alcohol and tobacco and drugs, and it really won't make you live longer, but it'll make it seem longer. All right.
All right. Any last thoughts on death for real? From either of you?
Watching this on video can seem like death, and if it does, make it last longer by subscribing to the channel.
Yeah.
Not only that, but like the video, comment on the video so other people can share your near-death experience listening to us. And when you subscribe, ring the bell, clang, clang, clang with the trolley, so you can get notifications whenever we talk about this shit in the future. That's all I got to say about that. Because I'm not going to talk about the big stuff after a slash, before a Patreon and a dot and a com. I don't know how that goes. I don't know those words.
Well, before we get into that, and before we get into the audio stuff, I want to just say about the YouTube channel for a second.
Goes in your eye holes.
We have lost some listeners or viewers on YouTube lately, and I think it's because we got significantly more political. This episode obviously isn't that political, but we've been, and I don't think we've been like offensively political. We've been like, like grassroots. How can we make things better? Political. If we're losing you as a viewer because of our political views or the fact that we're talking about politics too much, please engage with us instead of quitting. And if you just think that we're too liberal, that's
too
fine.
intelligent, too caring about other people, stuff like that.
Then just go away.
It's
we
too
don't care.
empathetic.
It is weird. I think a year ago, if I saw that we'd lost subscribers, I'd be like, I mean, we have 45 subscribers. We don't have that many subscribers. But if I had seen we lost 1 or 2 or 3, I'd be like, oh my God. But right now I'm like, well, we're getting more political and we're losing people. Eventually, like I don't want to speak to an echo chamber. I really don't.
No.
But at the same time, like, I don't want to not speak so that we don't have an echo chamber. Like, I don't want to, or just speak about fluff. I love doing episodes like this where it's more
you want to have a community.
fun, the death episodes. I love these fun episodes, but I also like, this is the big stuff. This isn't talking about, fun shit every week stuff. Like, this is, we're here to try to do something to make the world better in whatever way, and maybe we fail at that, but we're trying. And so I just wanted to mention that because if you're listening and you like it, it would be great if you subscribed to offset some of that and maybe help get some other people. I feel like even though we are very liberal, I feel like we're not like intolerant towards the right in towards the people who I think are reasonable, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents about the YouTube channel, since I'm seeing those trends going on. As far as listening to this podcast, if you like the podcast and you're listening to it, please give us a thumbs up or a 5 stars or whatever your podcast app of choice allows, or go on iTunes, even if you don't have iTunes. Reviews work on most of the platforms. You can give reviews. Do whatever you like
Thumbs
on that way
up,
to help us out.
Stars, twinkles, Hulk punches, whatever it takes.
Matthew wasn't paying attention because he was on his phone, and so now he's repeating all the shit I just said.
You said Hulk punches? You said twinkles? You didn't say that shit.
Alex literally twinkled with his hands. So the only one you got was Hulk punches. Anyway, if you want
I was resharing the can thing. You shouldn't have told me it was on the Instagram.
Yeah. If you want to support us in a way that's more than listening or more than viewing, you can go on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. And I know that we've plugged it a bunch this episode.
By saying patreon.com/talking about the big stuff repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want you to also know that doesn't mean you have to pay anything. You can go on there and get the $1 or the $0, which is the exact same as listening to this through another platform, except you do get updates about live. You'll get updates. You won't be able to necessarily see them if you're not paying, but you'll know when they're happening. And if it's a topic that sounds cool, you can join for a month or whatever, to watch a live stream, which there's always wild shit going on in the live streams. So that's an option, and you just get the notifications by just subscribing for free. You don't have to put any information, other than your email address or whatever into Patreon. So that's an option. We also have the $1 option, which gets you the episodes early. I want to say 4 days early, but lately it hasn't always been 4 days early because life's gotten busy and I'm editing slower. There's a $3 version, which gets you the extra content or some extra content. There'll be a decent amount of little fun things in this one. And then there's the $10 version, which for the most part, the $10 version is just going to get you. We have a big story or chat that's somewhat unrelated to the topic, but is usually very funny and maybe not safe for work. That goes on right before the intro. So if you are on a $10 patron and we just start talking, you didn't miss anything. 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever it is, you'll hear the intro the way that everybody else does. But those stories can get real wild. I think tonight's episode's $10 shenanigans was one of our best stories yet.
Yeah.
So, and you can buy the $10 video version of this, the $10 subscriber version for $3 an episode if you ever just want to see a specific video on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. All right, Alex, thanks for being on. You're always here, but the audience doesn't know that. Matthew, do you have anything else?
I just want to thank everyone for being here to talk about the big stuff and for making plans for way after the show.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.